There are lots of hand tools available for you to use at Spike Island, which are generally low risk, but you must still adhere to general health and safety and use appropriate PPE. PPE stands for Personal Protective Equipment. Both the tools and the required PPE can be found in the tech office and in the workshop once you've completed your hand tool induction. Ear defenders are used to protect hearing from excessively loud, high decibel sounds. These earmuffs consist of 2 cups to cover the external part of the ears with comfortable padding on the inside. The cups are connected by a band which fits over or behind the head to hold the cups in place. In a work environment, an employer is duty-bound to protect workers' hearing, although ear coverings can also be worn at home when mowing the lawn or using power tools. You can also use sponge in-ear earplugs if these are more comfortable for you. Safety glasses or safety goggles are an important part of keeping safe on site, providing your eyes with protection from dirt, dust and debris. It's especially important to wear goggles when using tools like drills or saws, which may cause pieces to fly away without warning. Face masks should be used when sawing or sanding, in order to prevent any particles or dust entering your lungs. Gloves are designed to protect hands and wrists from environmental impact and potential injury. They can also provide extra grip. Different equipment requires different PPE. You can speak to a member of technical staff about the PPE required for each job. Remember, before using any tool, tie back your hair, roll up your sleeves, remove any loose clothing and jewellery, and take off your headphones. You should also be using the appropriate PPE for the job. Sharp objects commonly used in the studios are things like scissors, Stanley knives, saws, and chisels. When working with sharps, always ensure the sharp end is pointed away from you, and maintain visual contact with the object at all times. Sharp objects should be carried carefully with the blades facing down, and should always have the safety cap on or the blade away whenever they are not in use. Keep your fingers away from the blade and return them to storage after use. We don't currently have a sharps bin at Spike Island. However, if you do need to dispose of any sharps, like Stanley knife blades or fragments of broken ceramic, you can speak to the technicians who will advise on the best course of action. The 2 main knives you will come across are Stanley knives and craft knives. Stanley knives are very sharp and used to cut things like carpet and paper, with a small blade fixed in the end of a handle. When the blade is blunted, it will need to be replaced. A craft knife is ideal for cutting paper, cardstock, and other materials like craft foam and fabric. They consist of a long, breakable blade with a locking mechanism. The blade is segmented and can be snapped off in order to refresh the sharp edge. Before using any knife, you will need to check that you are using the right knife for the job, inspect the blade ensuring it is sharp and in good condition, and make sure you are using the right equipment to support your cutting, like a cutting mat or a safety rule. Scissors are for cutting paper and thin materials. Always cut away from your body and be aware of any digits or limbs which may obstruct the blades. When not using the scissors, ensure they are closed and always transport them carefully with the blades closed and facing downwards. There are many types of saws available for you to use. Coping saws have a thin and narrow blade, which makes them highly manoeuvrable and able to cut tight turns in wood and other materials. They are meant for use on light, thin materials of 1 inch thickness or less. Japanese pull saws are also usually more flexible than traditional saws, so they're great for flush cuts, like cutting trim along a floor or a bung on a flat surface. There are basic Japanese pull saws that have teeth on both ends, which allow for both cross cuts and rip cuts. Junior hacksaws are commonly used for cutting small metal pipes or plastic tubing. They're usually about 6 inches long and enable the user to complete finer, more precise cutting with a much neater finish. Hacksaws are used for cutting through materials like plastic and metal. They are a variant of the traditional handsaw, typically used for cutting thin metal like aluminium, brass, steel or copper. Hacksaws are also used for cutting both plastic objects and sheet plastics. A tenon saw is used to cut straight lines in wood. Tenon saws have lots of teeth, which allow you to have more control over the depth and direction of the cut you're making. A crosscut saw is designed for cutting large pieces of wood across the wood grain. The 3 types of hammer we have in stock are ball peen, claw, and cross peen. Ball peens are also called machinist's hammers and have a flat and a rounded head used for shaping metal. Claw hammers are usually used for driving nails with the flat side of the head or removing nails with the claw. They're mostly used within woodworking but have a number of other applications. Cross-peen hammers have a thin wedge which is used to set the nail and a flat head used to finish driving it. Both G and quick release clamps are used for many applications, but most commonly wood and metal work. G clamps use a screw mechanism to tighten the grip of the clamp, whereas quick release clamps have a mechanism which allows the user to quickly open the jaws. They also allow for tight fastening using the trigger system. Whenever you need to use a tool, always speak to a technician beforehand. They will ask you things like, what do you need the tool for? Is it the right tool for the job? Do you feel confident using it? And is there a better way to achieve your goal? There might be a solution you've not yet considered, which might be easier or less dangerous. As this is just an overview and general induction, we also have a Padlet resource you can use as reference for other tools, or come and speak to a technician. Where higher risk power tools are to be used, you will also have to complete additional health and safety inductions. Drills, ladders, palm sanders, drop saw, mitre guillotine, jigsaws and chisels all require additional health and safety training. It might be that you want to use these to make a canvas, and therefore could book in for a workshop to learn the whole process, or it could be just for an individual tool or a specific use. You can book inductions with the staff via spiketech@uwe.ac.uk or by speaking to the student project coordinators at spc@uwe.ac.uk. To complete your drill and ladder training, you can use the QR code on screen. There's also a link to this through the Central Loans Equipment booking website. You don't need to complete this now, but you will need to have completed it before you are able to use drills, power drivers and ladders. Before you can use the ladders, you will need to have completed your ladder training and consulted one of the technicians. In general, we don't allow anything to be hung from studio ceilings or light fixtures. However, in some circumstances, such as for exhibitions, it may be possible to hang works from the existing fittings in the studio ceilings. This is subject to a risk assessment and will need to be carried out by suitably equipped studio technicians. Please follow the QR code and fill in the form to show that you have understood and will adhere to the Spike Island Studio health and safety guidance.